Hello all, long time no see, it's Mike the Vapor here. I've recently been on holiday, if you haven't already seen my tweets about it. I think I didn't shut up about it. And now that I'm back, I've decided to treat myself to a few new bits of vaping gear. So what I did was yesterday I took a trip to Stoke-on-Trent, Elegant Vapors. Got a bit of a drive away for me, however it was my one-stop shop for everything I needed. So thank you very much for them in getting in touch with me so I didn't make a wasted trip. I spoke on Twitter to a member of staff there and he filled me in of all the information and stuff of the shop. So I bought a few bits, and what I'm going to review today for you is the Rose V2. I'd never really been too interested in the Rose before because, sorry, I'm just looking for a cloth, one sec. I'd never really been too interested in the Rose before because I knew it had a ceramic cup, and the only time I'd ever used an Atty with a ceramic cup before was an Ithaca. I hated it because it was the res, no res wire setup. So I kind of just disregarded anything that had a ceramic cup for a long time, and I can't remember where it was that I saw it, but something made me look into the Rose. A few people had mentioned them, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. I'll see what it's like. I'll have a little look at some builds and etc. and see what I think of it. Thought it looked quite good because it didn't use the res no res wire stuff. I presume that ceramic cup ones all did, but this doesn't. So I decided I was going to buy one. It was a little bit more expensive than some of the other clones that you can get. I know you can pick up Kayfuns now for like £17 and stuff like that online, but I bought it from a bricks and mortar shop and it cost me £26, I believe. Now what you get with it is, I'll just show you quickly. You get the box. It's made by a company called Palace Health Matters Most. Palace Technology are the cloners of this one. I'd read that it was a pretty good clone, pretty good copy, one-to-one. The only thing it doesn't come with is the base tool thing that the Rose comes with, which is a Atty stand, and you also use it to clamp onto the Atty to unscrew some bits that are quite tough to get hold of. So in the box, just to let you know, you get obviously the Rose, which is on here. I can't take it apart at the minute because I've just filled it up. You get the stainless steel section of the tank, which obviously just fits in there for any tank cracking liquids. Then you get a bag of spares. In there you get a spare ceramic cup, a couple of spare grub screws, a few O-rings, bit of silica and some wire. So you get everything you need to start. Oh, sorry, you get this rod as well. This rod is used to take part of the Atty apart. I would show you, but I've got liquid in it at the minute, so I can't. So yesterday I got home, had loads of different stuff. Decided to give the Rose a go, see what it was like. I thought it looked quite a straightforward kind of build, so I thought, yeah, right, we'll give this a go. Now, the build quality of the device and the features of the device is pretty damn good. The threads on it are great. The ceramic cup's a really good idea because it's not there because you have to use no res and res wire. It's there to stop any shorts because of the way that the coil sits inside the actual base. The building looked like it should be very straightforward. However, it got a little bit fiddly. I was building it up. I was using a Perfect micro coil. I mean, I've built millions of them in the past, so I know exactly how they'd work. There's basically your ceramic cup with 2 holes in the bottom that you run your coil into, so the coil sits inside the cup, and then these 2 holes you bring the legs of the wire through. Now the legs of the wire then line up with 2 holes in the deck. So you put your ceramic cup in, you've got your juice channels, and then there's 2 holes at the bottom that goes into the deck. And on the side of the device are 2 grub screws. You grub screw them in, and it holds the wires together. The ceramic cup obviously keeps everything apart, so nothing touches, nothing shorts out, etc. And I'll be honest, I found it quite fiddly and a little bit difficult to get it right. The coil I was using was perfect. The legs of the wire were trimmed right down. But what did frustrate me was, I can actually show you on this because I can take it off without having to leak all my juice. Basically, you have this bottom section here, which is your 510. So on the bottom section on the 510, you can unscrew this, and then you've got your bottom of your atomizer. So this is all covered up by the 510, and in here, this screw, what this screw does, the grub screws, one of them is just bolted straight into the body. The second one here runs down, and this screws into the bottom to keep the grub screw hole still. Now, the O-ring that is between the base and the screw is a bit crap. So if you really over tighten it, it squishes it outwards, so it doesn't really do much. And it needs to be quite tight, because otherwise, where you're feeding the cable into, it moves from side to side. So if we imagine this is the deck, like this, there's a hole in the side here, your wire comes down, and that hole there, and then you would put a grub screw in here to lock this wire in place. Now the grub screw in here, it's on a kind of a swivel, so that screw at the bottom needs to be really tight to stop that from swiveling. But if you do it too tight, it squashes the O-ring. If it's not tight enough, you get a bit of a weird fluctuation on your resistance. So I built up a coil which I was expecting to come in around about 1.5-ish ohms, and it was coming in at 0.18, which is quite clearly wrong. I mean, I was using 0.27mm Kanthal, so it don't be that much on a 0.18 build. So it was a bit of a ball ache, a bit of a pain in the arse to get it set up. I watched a few videos online, watched a couple of techniques and stuff, and they basically say, put the wire, take the cup out, put the wires through the cup, flip it upside down, hold it, push it in, blah, 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 blah. So I had a little fiddle around, stripped it all down, give it a good clean, and put everything back together. I put a build on it, and lo and behold, it glowed, but only half the coil was glowing. So it pissed me off again, and it was just a time. Anyway, after a lot of messing around, I eventually got it. I eventually got a build done on it, which was glowing nicely, and I then went to wick it. Now, this was another thing that, not going to say frustrated me, but I thought could have been designed slightly better. There's only really room in there for a single coil. However, there is 2 juice channels either side. So when you're feeding your piece of cotton through, if you lay it in one of the juice channels, there's 2 open. And the way that this device works, because of the way that the juice flow works, etc., you're going to get juice flooding into that other open juice channel. So basically what you have to do is split the cotton in half and then run it in. Or alternatively, you could kind of go out and then back in again, but it sort of eliminates the point, because you're going to have juice that's not going to a coil, or it's just a longer process for the juice to get to the coil. So I split it in half. So basically you have your coil like this, imagine, the hole at the end, and then there's 2 pieces of cotton coming off. Now the only problem with that is the juice channels are quite big, so I've made my coil and then I've put my cotton in there. I obviously don't want to be too tight with the cotton, so when I split it in half, there's not loads of cotton to fill, and I'm actually using rayon so it doesn't swell when it absorbs. But after all that, I cut it, I got it in, and I managed to move it around and this, that, and the other, and I got it set up, and so touch wood, so far there's been not a single leak on it. I did have a bit of an issue today where I was vaping away, and then all of a sudden I got check atomizer on my Hannah. So I was like, well, it's fine, I haven't done anything, it's just been sat in the car. So I took it apart and had a little look at it, and one of those grub screws, the wire had slipped out. Not sure why, but it was literally just a case of undoing the grub screw, pushing it back in, locking it back down. Because when you fill this up, you actually turn it upside down, fill the chamber up, and you can take it off. So in fact, what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to take it off and just show you the build on it, and show you what I mean about the cotton. So if I, oh no, not that one. If I unscrew the base, Sorry, it won't be a second. So, my liquid's all in there. Got to keep it upside down, otherwise it's all going to fall out. Now this is the build here. So, as you can see, there's 2 juice channels and you kind of have to split your cotton to go through. So, fortunately, I had enough cotton. But if you're making a micro, like a real small nano coil or something in there, it isn't going to fit because the juice channels are only big enough for you to put quite a small drill bit or syringe or whatever in there. But you want a bigger coil for more cotton. So it's just a bit of a silly design. It would have been nicer if maybe they give you a second ceramic cup that would block off one of the channels. They do give you a second ceramic cup, but it's exactly the same. So that's the build there. You can see there's a micro coil in the middle, the air hole's directly beneath it, and then I've had to split the cotton into 2. Now the juice control screws onto the top here, and then you can adjust how much you want. So if I was to leave one of these open and open the juice control a little bit, it's all going to flood straight into that deck and then obviously down my throat, which is not too great. But saying that, I've been complaining basically about it here. Once I got it set up, I took that first vape on it and it was really good. It was really good. I wasn't expecting it to be that good because normally when you've got to faff around with a build and you struggle with it and this and that and the other, it's going to be a crap build. So I was really surprised when I actually took a vape on it. Now it's got your adjustable airflow on it here and it says it's 2 mil. It looks a little bit less than 2 mil if you ask me, but I could be wrong. So it's a little bit of a tighter draw because there's just the one air hole. So I'm going to probably drill mine out a little bit. I've seen online that a few people have drilled them out to 3 mil. But I like a really airy draw. But it did surprise me how good it was. So my coil came in at 1.3 ohms. I've got it here on the Hanna, 30 watts. I'm going to give it a vape and show you what it is. Just to let you know the liquid, it's a DIY liquid, but it's actually Capella Red Bull flavour, which is not bad. Not too bad. I've had some better Red Bulls, I've had some worse ones. So I'll show you it vaping now. So it does vape very, very nicely. The flavour's the main thing on it. The flavour's fantastic. It's not the biggest clouds ever. At 30 watts, I would expect it maybe to be a little bit warmer, but the only thing I can think is the liquid surrounds the chimney. So obviously the liquid's cold or the liquid's not hot anyway. So as the vapour's coming through, the liquid around it, I imagine, is keeping that chamber cool. So it's cooling the vapour that's coming through a little bit. But don't get me wrong, it is a very, very nice vape. And so far, I've not had a single leak on it. I've bumped it up to 40 watts on the IPv2S. And it was warmer. No burn taste, which is good because you've got the adjustable airflow. The adjustable juice control, sorry. And it vaped quite nice. It was a little bit too much for me. It was a little bit too hot at 40. But at 30, it's a bit too cold. So maybe somewhere in the middle, 35 would be quite nice. But I've not tested it yet. But the flavour is fantastic. It holds quite a bit of liquid as well. I was surprised at how much it actually holds. I think it's about 3.5, 4 mil. But when you look at it, you wouldn't expect it to actually have that much because you've got this big juice channel thing in the middle. Juice control in the middle. So you have to obviously use their drip tip as well because it's part of the juice control. But it's not a bad drip tip. It's a metal one. It looks great. It looks really nice. It looks kind of space agey if you ask me. You adjust your airflow at the bottom here. You can see the hole. You just twist. Oh, I've twisted it off. But basically, yeah, you twist it until the gap marries up with the hole, and you choose what you want. So all in all, it's a pretty good atomizer. I don't know if I'd buy an original because it's a little bit too much faffing around for me. And as far as I'm aware, they're quite expensive, these. They're made in England, which is nice. But, yeah, it just... I expected the build to be easier. If you're an experienced builder and you're quite happy faffing around and you build stuff all the time, like I change my coils nearly every day, then you will get a very, very good flavour out of it. Don't expect massive clouds out of it. Juice control's great, build quality's great. It's just the actual building of the coils is sometimes a bit of a pain in the backside. Solely down to the fact that the juice channels are quite small, so you can't lay anything bigger in there to put your coil in. So you'd have to make your coil, take it off, put it in, hold it in place, and my fingers won't fit inside the cup properly, and a bit finicky to cut the wires down to a certain length, put them in, blah 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 blah. But once you get it, it is good. It is very good. Like, I like the vape on this now. It's nice. I could use it as an everyday kind of atty. It's not a sit at home and blow massive clouds atty. It's just like a nice vape. So yeah, that's it. You may well be able to build a dual coil in there. I don't know. I don't think you're going to be able to, because the only way you could really do it would be on top of each other, and I don't know if the holes are big enough for you to get 2 leads down there. You couldn't do a side by side build, I don't think. Maybe if you twisted them together, but you'd have to twist them very tight because, as I say, the holes aren't that big. The grub screws might slip, etc. So single coil build, I think, is the way to go with this. But all in all, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. If I was to go for build quality and vape quality, I'd probably give it about an 8.5 out of 10. But that building of the coil just takes it down a little bit for me. I'm going to leave it there because I've been waffling on. But yeah, if you've got any questions about it, if you want to drop me a message on Twitter at Mike the Vapor. I'll also put a link to the shop where I bought it from. So yeah, give me a shout and we'll go from there. Thanks very much.